بسم الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه وبركاته عليه. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله جل في العلا، وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. As we continue the explanation of Hamawiyyah of the great Imam Taqiyuddin Ahmad Abdul Halim ibn Abdul Salam ibn Taymiyyah al-Harwani al-Dimashqi rahimahullah, who died 728 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. For this day, rather the night of Thursday, in accordance with the Islamic calendar. But tonight is the 16th of Rajab, Laylat al-Khamis, the night of Thursday. On the Islamic calendar, where the year currently is 1443 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Within the Gregorian calendar, with the time now 7:46 p.m., Wednesday, February the 16th, 2022. As we return back to where we stopped last lesson, you'll find, as it goes on to say, as we concluded in that explanation, and we go on, he said from وَيَكْفِيكَ دَلِيلًا وَاحِدًا, well, rather this is where we stop. وَيَكْفِيكَ دَلِيلًا عَلَى فَسَادِ قَوْلِ هَؤُلَاء أَنْ لَيْسَ لِوَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمْ قاعدة مستمرة فيما يحيله العقل، بل منهم من يزعم أن العقل جوز أو أوجب ما يدعي الآخر أن العقل أحاله. He says it suffices to let you know that to use the intellect as a source of guidance, or to use that to what is relied upon, meaning your intellect or your mind. He said what we can use as an evidence to prove the invalidity or how this statement is incorrect, what we can use as an evidence is that you'll find that there's not from anyone from amongst them who use the human mind as a foundation, that they have a principle continuously or a matter that they settle upon or they agree upon, where they use some type of principle or rule to return back to so they can be unified. Because we know that the ultimate goal is to unite people, especially in being properly guided in regards to affairs connected with their Lord. However, as we mentioned many times, that they do not use the Kitab nor the Sunnah as a source of guidance in regards to what they believe towards our Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, they give precedence to the human mind, or the intellect, as we said. He said, for you'll find that what we can use, or what suffices as an evidence to show how this statement is incorrect, meaning that the human mind being relied upon. And if you want to also add on to that, brothers and sisters, your feelings. Your feelings is also an affair that can destroy you. What I feel like. And we know this has become widespread in society. I feel this way, I feel this way, I feel this way, I feel this way, I feel this way. And what you feel and what is being utilized as your intellect or mind, of that being utilized as a source or what you rely upon and how you conduct and what you say and what you do. Like we said, you'll never find, as Shaykh Taymiyyah said, them being united. Everyone has their own way of thinking, if you want to say, for lack of better words. So if you look in the book, it says, He says, you'll find that there's not anyone from amongst them that has a rule or a protocol that's continuous, meaning that it's settled where everyone agrees if they was to make everything they believe based upon that certain principle. He said they don't have any. And he says, nor are they united in what they believe. So listen what he says. He said, even if you look in the aspects of their beliefs, and they all say, what the mind accepts, we accept it, or what the mind rejects, we reject it. He said, even those who say this, they're not even united. So look at what Shaykh al-Islam said. بل منهم من يزعم أن العقل جوز أو أوجب ما يدعي الآخر أن العقل أحاله. He said, from amongst them, that they say that the human mind does allow that, meaning that affair can be, or it's acceptable. And some of them say, rather it's obligatory. He says, in which the other claim that the human mind disapproves of it. So you have people who have, or so-called think that the human mind is the foundation. They say, okay, we use the human mind as a foundation, not the revelation. Our human mind accepts it. What I think it's okay. And others think, no, it's obligatory. And others think, and their intellect is what? No, it's rejected. So them using that intellect as a resort or a source, in which you'll find that they never settled upon, you'll find that they what? Shaykh al-Islam is trying to prove that utilizing the human mind in these regards, which is connected with Allah, that even they are not united. Meaning that everybody has their own outlook or different opinion. So then he goes on to say, then we talked about this last class because I'm gonna speed up a little bit. He says, for example, you'll find that amongst them that they say that we're forced to resort to twisting certain affairs in religion, or twisting affairs of belief, for example. From amongst them, they use the mind as an intellect, such as the deviant sect, as we discussed, called the Mu'tazila, where they deny that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be seen on the day of resurrection. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be seen on the day of resurrection, because we know in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will appear to the people, meaning the believers, on the day of resurrection twice, meaning on the day of resurrection, as they say, Arasat al-Qiyamah, and in Dar al-Karama, meaning on the day of resurrection and in paradise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be shown, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be seen for the believers in the hereafter in those moments, meaning on the plains of the day of resurrection and in paradise. The Mu'tazila say, no, our intellects don't accept that. Allah will not be seen. Allah will not be seen. Rather, they'll say what will be seen on the day of resurrection is the implantation of the knowledge in their mind, meaning what they perceive. So it's not actually them seeing Allah, it's some type of knowledge that's planted within them that claims that they might have seen Allah. All of these affairs which doesn't make any sense. So you'll find that this is what Shaykh al-Islam is saying. They're saying this deviant sect over here that say that they claim that their minds is the foundation, their minds say that Allah will not be seen on the day of resurrection. He says, and then you'll find another sect from amongst them saying it is, that Allah will be seen. However, it's without being in a certain direction. So you'll find all these different types of atrocities which are confusing when a person hears it, to let you know that even though all of them use the mind as a foundation or fundamental, they're not united. So this is what he was trying to establish here, that to show the invalidity of these statements, that even though you're saying that the mind is so-called, what is utilized, and it gives precedence, or it takes precedence over revelation, you guys are not even united. Not united in your belief. Doesn't make any sense. So he's saying that, وَمَنْ يُحِيلُهُ أَنَّ لِلَّهِ عِلْمًا وَقُدْرَةً وَيَكُنْ كَلَامُهُ غَيْرَ مَخْلُوقٍ وَنَحْوُ ذَلِكَ. And for example, they say that the human mind, that they say it's impossible, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has those characteristics of knowledge and ability, because the mind rejects that and says that it's impossible. From all the other affairs that they what? Reject as a result of what everyone using the human mind as a resource. Or using it as a source, as a source. فَاضْطَرُّوا إِلَى التَّدْوِيرِ. He said, then you'll find from amongst them who also falls into these so-called distortions and false notions and perverted meanings in the religion. That if a Muslim was to hear it, they would be confused concerning the most vital and important of all matters, which is pertaining to Allah and the hereafter. For example, another thing you'll find that they fall into when they say that the human mind rejects, from amongst them they say on the day of resurrection that the actual thing that will be resurrected is not necessarily the physical body. It's just the spiritual body. And from amongst them who separate, they say it's not the spirit, nor is it the physical, nor is it the body. Rather, what will be raised on the day of resurrection is the spirit without the body. So all the different types of confusing notions that the people say as a result of using their minds as a source to rely upon in these type of very important matters that the people are supposed to be united upon. But in the most important of all affairs, you'll find that these people that are using their minds have different and strayed into those matters that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly united the people upon in evidences and proofs that are clear as the sun in the sky. So that's what you'll find that Shaykh al-Islam is trying to mention here. He said that they're not united, even though they use the mind. That one says no, and that one says yes. That one says that Allah is above. Then you'll find that they say, no. The mind rejects that. We have to twist that meaning so it can be so-called acceptable in our minds. From amongst them who say that Allah is not above the throne. Who are these people? They're the Asha'ira and the Maturidiyah. Why? What's their source? Why do they reject it? وَيَزْعُمْ أَنَ الْعَقْلَ أَحَالَ ذَلك. That the human mind rejects that. The mind doesn't accept it. Because I can't believe that my Lord is above. Based upon the fact that the mind only accepts there's something above, meaning that it's contained in the sky by all the different directions, and our minds reject that. So that's the reason why they what? Reject that notion also. So those are the affairs you'll find that we discuss. So let's flip the page. For this, Shaykh al-Islam goes on to say, he says, يَا لَيْتَ شِعْرِي بِأَيِّ عَقْلٍ يُوزَنُ الْكِتَابُ وَالسُّنَّةِ فرضي الله عن الإمام مالك بن أنس الأسطحي إمام دار الهجرة. Did he mention? قال وكلما جاءنا رجل أجدل من رجل تركنا ما جاء به جبريل إلى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم لجدل هؤلاء. He says فيا ليت شعري بأي عقل يوزن الكتاب والسنة. He says, what is it that a person would believe, or with any intellect or mind, that the book of Allah and the sunnah, the message of Allah, is supposed to be weighed upon? Or upon whose mind? Meaning, what's accepted or rejected is based upon so-and-so's mind, or what they say is so-called accepted, or what's rejected. Whose mind is worth this? Whose mind is given this type of status over what Allah has sent down? That the kitab and the sunnah has to be weighed upon that individual's mind. So he's to let you know that what? How this type of affair is atrocious, is very what? Evil. That the scales of what Allah sent down will be weighed upon someone's mind of what's considered acceptable or rejected. Is it clear, everyone? So that's what we mentioned this said. He says, فَلْيَا لَيْتَ شِعْرِي بِأَيِّ عَقْلٍ يُوزَنُ الْكِتَابُ وَالسُّنَّةِ. So may Allah be pleased upon Imam Malik ibn Anas al-Usbuhi, an Imam from Al-Madinah. And he said in a statement, he says, is it that every time a man comes to us that is more argumentative than another person? He said, meaning that they come with some type of conflicting arguments or confusing notions or some type of what? Confusing affair or some type of ambiguity to confuse the people. Just to argue. That one individual, he's more argumentative than the other. And that they come to us. And as a result, what we do, what does it say in the book? That we leave off what Angel Jibreel came with to Muhammad sallallahu in order to argue with these people. What is he speaking about? That we embrace the aqidah of the angels. And the aqidah of the angels is that they believe in Allah. And they believe in the existence of Allah. They believe in the rububiyyah of Allah. They also believe in the uluhiyyah of Allah. And you'll find that the angels also believe in the Asma wa Sifat. What's the proof? As far as the existence of Allah, I think that's clear. It's clear. What about the Rububiyyah of Allah? The Rububiyyah of Allah is even more clear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, وَالَّذِينَ يَحْمِلُونَ الْعَرْشَ وَمَنْ حَوْلَهُ يُسَبِّحُونَ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّهِمْ ويستغفرون للذين آمنوا ربنا وسعت كل شيء رحمة وعلما فاغفر للذين تابوا واتبعوا سبيلك وقهم عذاب الجحيم ربنا وأدخلهم جنات عدن التي وعدتهم ومن صلح من آبائهم وذرياتهم وأزواجهم وذرياتهم. That's the ayah. إنك أنت السميع العليم وقهم السيئات ومن تقي السيئات يومئذ فقد رحمته وذلك هو الفوز العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, He says in His book, those who carry the Arsh of Allah and who's around it, they glorify His praise and they believe in Him. يُسَبِّحُونَ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّهِمْ. They glorify the praise of their Lord. What does it say in the ayah? They glorify the praise of their Lord. It's the Rububiyyah of Allah. And they seek forgiveness for those who believe. Seeking forgiveness is an affair of what? Uluhiyyah. Because that's the actions of the slave in regards to what's worship. Istighfar is ibadah. Seeking forgiveness is worship. There's another ayah you'll find that the angels that they say to Allah Ta'ala, it says, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قَالُوا أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ قَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُ. He says, oh Allah, are you going to make within the earth who will spread corruption, shed blood unjustly? Now listen to this. وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. We glorify you. We exalt you. قَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُ. What categories of Tawheed is that? Rububiyyah and what? Uluhiyyah. Person would say, what about that? What about Al-Asma wa Sifat? As it goes on the ayah, it says, إني جاعل في الأرض يتجعل فيها إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون فعلم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين قال لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. What did the angel say? You're Alimul Hakim. What category is that? Al-Asma wa Sifat. What about the angels? And they say that Allah Ta'ala, that the angels ascend to Allah. As it comes in the ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, in Surah Al-Ma'arij, تَعْرُجُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالْرُوحُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ 50,000 سَنَةً فَاصْبِرْ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا. As Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ma'arij, Allah Ta'ala says in His book that the angels and Jibreel ascend to Allah in a time frame of what we understand of 50,000 years. So that's to let you know that the aqeedah of the angels is that Allah is where? He's above. Allah Ta'ala is above. So the angels believe that Allah is above. The angels believe in the existence of Allah. The angels believe in the Rububiyyah of Allah. The angels believe in the Uluhiyyah of Allah. The angels believe in the Asma wa Sifat of Allah. So, whose aqeedah do we want to take? These idiots out here that say Allah is everywhere, or what the angels believe?
Angels.
Jaded. Ahsant. Does that make any sense? So these idiots out here, oh no, Allah doesn't have any names or attributes. Allah does not have any of these attributes. That's why you see the fiqh of Imam Malik, the great Imam al-Hijrah from Medina, the great Imam Malik ibn Anas, who's the Shaykh of the Imam al-Shafi'i. That was Imam al-Shafi'i, Shaykh was the Imam Malik. Anyway, Imam Malik said in this profound statement, he says, if a man comes to us that's more argumentative than another man, will we abandon or leave off what Jibreel came to us in order to argue with these people? He says, for verily someone who's Ash'ari comes, we want to argue, debate, Mu'tazili or Jahmi. He says that these people who you'll find that one is more argumentative than the other, or one is more idiotic than the other, or one is more, maybe a little bit more eloquent in their falsehood than the other, depending on who comes with it, and the circumstances and the level of their false notions that they believe or that they have, right? So they come with them and they're more argumentative than the other. He said, all in all, are we going to leave off what Jibreel was upon and what he gave and revealed to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Basically, to sum up, are we going to abandon the revelation of Allah for these false notions and perverted meanings and beliefs, which wasn't even the beliefs of Jibreel, nor the angels, nor was it the revelation that was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So you'll find that all these arguments and proof, they all clash with one another. They're like glass. They come together and they break. There's a statement you'll find by the great Imam al-Khattabi. And his name was Abu Sulaiman al-Khattabi. Abu Sulaiman al-Khattabi, who explained or had an explanation for Sunan Abi Dawud, which was called Ma'alim al-Sunan, which is an explanation of Abu Sunan Abi Dawud. It's called Ma'alim al-Sunan. He had a statement where he said, حُجَجٌ تَهَافَتَ كَالزُّجَاجِ تَخَادُهَا حَقًّا كُلُّ كَاسٍ مَقْصُورُ. He came with a poetry. Don't write it down. He said, arguments, he said, that are fallen, just as glass when it mixes with another one that they clash with. He said, for everything that breaks or they merge with one another that's supposed to break something else, it becomes what? Broken. Meaning when it clashes with another thing. All of it, if it comes to clash, and it comes with another glass similar to it, ultimately all of it what? Breaks down. So that's what we mentioned in what he said in this particular what? Statement, which was profound. Let's continue. Let's continue with Shaykh. Now listen to this. وَكُلُّ مِنْ هَؤْلَاء مَخْصُومٌ بِمَا خُصِمَ بِهِ الْآخَرِ وَهُوَ مِنْ وُجُوهٍ أَحَدُهَا بَيَانْ أَنَّ الْعَقْلَ يُحِيلُ ذَلِكَ. He goes on to say, he said, for all of these people that have been established upon them the proofs, مَخْصُومٌ بِمَا خُصِمَ بِهِ الْآخَرِ, that the proofs was established upon them, similar to what others from amongst them was also what? Discussed with in the same manner, using the same proofs with those other people that debated. He said, what are those evidences and proofs that's used? What is it? Look what he says in the book. وَهُوَ مِنْ وُجُوهٍ, from different aspects. Number one, he says, they use the same arguments, such as clarifying to them that the so-called mind refutes the revelation or rejects it. Because the mind says that it's impossible. Our minds don't accept it, right? The second thing you'll find that they always say is that the text that comes in the book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, لا تحتمل التأويل. He says, of course, what we use as our argument against them is that, for example, that everything in the book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, in regards to these affairs that we're discussing, such as the names and attributes of Allah, they do not necessitate that they be what? Distorted in its meaning. He said that we use these as arguments against them when we bring the proofs. Now listen to the third, and I want everyone to be attentive to this, because this is what the nation of Islam fell into, and a lot of deviant sects from the Muslims. Now listen to this. أن عامة هذه الأمور قد علم أن الرسول جاء بها بالاضطرار كما علم أنه جاء بالصلوات الخمس. I want you to listen to this proof, because if you notice that the nation of Islam don't what? Pray like us. If you notice, they don't fast in the same month of Ramadan like us. Why? All of them, they twist their own meanings using so-called distortions, which is called ta'wil. Ta'wil in this context meaning distorting the meaning. And he said that if we was to use these in the most vital of affairs, now listen to this. Shaykh al-Islam is raising attention to something very important. He's saying that if we open these doors up to the most most important, intricate, vital of affairs in our religion, which is our belief in regards to our Lord. He said, you'll find that when that door was open, it crept into other important affairs in our religion, in which the deviant sects from the Muslims use in order to now interpret certain matters for their own desires, or for their own desires, such as how to pray. He said, if we open these doors up, he says, you'll find that the doors now will open up and lead to where we can even twist the meanings in the prayers. And we can even twist the meanings in the month of Ramadan. And we can twist the meanings in regards to how we perform Hajj. And everybody could just do how they feel. And ultimately it would just be what? Just absolute chaos. He says, and this is what happened. You opened up the door up, which was the most important of affairs, which was pertaining to the belief of Allah. Then it just trickled down into other important matters of the religion, such as the prayer, Ramadan, and Hajj. And he said that when this door, or this so-called da'irah, this circle became open and expanded more and more and more, then the affair became what? Worse. And he starts to give examples. Now let's read. He said that the majority of these affairs, indeed, it has been known that the message of Allah came with it, bil-ittirab. He said, by dire necessity. Extreme necessity of what a person's supposed to know and believe, meaning that you have no doubt in it. For example, there's no Muslim out there except that he knows, inshallah, these days we live in some weird times, but anyway, that a person, a Muslim, knows that when they read an ayah and they read a hadith, there's no Muslim except they know I have to pray Fajr at such and such time. Every Muslim believes that. These days. We can manage to say different, but those Muslims that have submitted to Allah and His Messenger, Fajr comes in, they know the time, nobody rejects it. Similar to that, the 5 prayers, when they've been prescribed, nobody argues with it. Nobody argues with the time when they're supposed to come, and nobody argues with the manner of how it's performed. Right now, if someone was to come to you and say Fajr is 3 rakats, I don't understand the text that way. Nor do I accept that Fajr is 2 rakats because it came by way of ahad. It came by one narrator. It didn't reach the level of tawatur. Anyone that says that, the Muslim will look at you like you're crazy. Like, are you serious? No, I don't believe that. And Dhuhr, I think Dhuhr, the mind rejects. What makes sense to me in my intellect is that Dhuhr should be loud. Dhuhr should be loud. That to me, that's in my mind, how I feel is it should be loud because it's the daytime. And I feel because it's hot, I should pray 3 rakats because it's 100 degrees outside. And there's no AC inside of there's no air conditioner inside of the room that I'm in. So I feel, and my intellect necessitates that I should pray 2 rakats and I should pray loud. Any Muslim that hears this with a sound intellect that's submitted to the revelation will say what? You've lost your mind. Right now, someone says, well, Isha, I think that Isha should be 2 because I feel, and my intellect accepts that it should be done maybe 2.5. Or maybe 3 with 1 tashahhud, because that's what my mind accepts. And in the month of Ramadan, I don't think that it should be done in the summertime. I think it should be done where the weather is nice. Because that's how I feel. And that's how my intellect accepts it. Because it doesn't make sense it should be done in the winter where everybody's cold. Anybody that hears this nonsense, what would you do? You will perceive that individual to be what? Majnoon. Lost your mind. Why? What would you use as an argument? The religion was not made to be dictated by your what? Your mind. Nor how you what? How you feel. If you're saying this about the prayers, and you're saying this about Hajj, and you're saying this about Ramadan, what's more important than all of those matters is what you believe about Allah. So why don't you apply that in affairs with Allah? That's what Shaykh al-Islam is trying to use as an argument here. You see it now? Now you see why he's using it as an argument? He said the prayers you wouldn't accept this. Month of Ramadan you wouldn't accept this. In Hajj you wouldn't accept this. Why is it? And the belief about Allah and His Asma wa Sifat and His names are more important than all of those affairs. So why are you doing it here? Is it clear, everyone? So listen what he goes on to say. He said, وَصَوْمُ شَهْرِ Ramadan. Because we know that the nation of Islam, what do they what? They fast Ramadan in another time. I forgot which one it was. Somebody have to enlighten me which month it is. What is it, Shaykh?
December 25th.
December 25th? December 25th? On Christmas? That's when they fast. The month of Ramadan, that's when it starts. And it's a set time, isn't it?
They do that day. They don't do no month. Just that day.
Just that day.
They don't do no month.
You see everybody. And how would they pray also? Did they go pray like this with their hands raised?
Abraham prayed, yeah.
Their hands raised in the air like this?
That's kind of be all right. He prayed, the hell there. That's it. They said the whole thing, but that's it.
Exactly. Is it clear, everyone? So, this is what Shaykh al-Islam goes on to say. So he said, فَالتَّأْوِيلُ الَّذِي يُحِيلُهَا عَنْ هَذَا بِمَنْزِلَةِ تَأْوِيلِ الْقَرَامِطَةِ. Now he's starting to bring some deviant sects from the past. And I think that the origin of Nation of Islam came from these specific deviant sects. From the Qaramita, the Pyramid, the Pyramidiyah. This is where they came from originally. The Batiniyah. At any rate, التأويل الذي يحيلها عن هذا بمنزلة تأويلات القرامطة. He said, for verily the distortions in which their minds reject or find impossible or deemed to be impossible or unacceptable. He said, these type of false distortions upon these people, he says, is at the level of the false notions of the deviant sect called the Qaramita. Qaramita and the Batiniyah. Qaramita is a sect from the Batiniyah. They're not two separate sects, as certain people might think when you read a book. Batiniyah or Batiniyun. Batiniyun is general, and the Qaramita is from the Batiniyun. So the Qaramita is from amongst the Batiniyah, the Batiniyin. Oh, first of all, who's the Qaramita? Who's Qaramita? Who are they? They are followers of an individual. His name is Hamdan Pirmit. I think it's Abdullah ibn Pirmit, but I have to check. But they say his name was Hamdan Pirmit. Pirmit. Qaf, Ra, Mim, Ta. Pirmit. Pirmit. I think that the origin of the group, and I have to check if anyone wants to go back to do a little bit more research after the class. The head of them, his name was Abdullah ibn Pirmit, from what I remember. But here specifically, they said his name was Hamdan Pirmit, that he was one of their callers in the beginning. But at any rate, this individual named Hamdan Pirmit, right now we'll just keep it Hamdan Pirmit. We'll keep it for that, for his name right like that for now. But anyway, he was one of the callers of the sect of the Batiniyah. So the head or the general sect is called the Batiniyin. We'll explain that in a minute. Don't worry. Then the individual named Hamdan Pirmit, he broke off. He broke off from them. He says until a number of people answered his call. What was his call? Just listen. So they were called the Qaramita or the Pirmatiyah or the Pirmitiyah. They are a deviant sect from the Batiniyah who went out to fight the Muslims. During the Khalifa, or his name was Mu'tadid. Mu'tadid. He was a Khalifa, he was a type of king. He was the king from Al-Bahrain. He said that this deviant sect called the Qaramita had took over the land of Bahrain, the two seas, until they claimed the blood of the Muslims to be lawful, meaning that they were lawful to kill. And they also robbed installed in the roads, in the lands, in the caravans, in the roads, meaning that the lands or the safety of the land became disrupted. So they used to stick up and wait for people in the land and take their belongings. So qata'u subul, meaning that they rendered the security of the lands unsafe because they used to steal their goods. So for qata'u al-tariq, not only did they cut the roads, but they cut the roads from the people coming to perform Hajj. Now listen to this part. وَاقْتَلَعُوا الْحَجْرِ الْأَسْوَدِ, they stole the black stone from Mecca. They stole the black stone. Yes. They had taken the black stone from Mecca. They said that they went they exceeded the bounds in regards to names and attributes of Allah. Meaning that they exceeded the bounds as far as what they negated and what they distorted. Until they used to say, it is not said that Allah exists, nor He does not exist. It's a lot of stuff about the Quran. We learned about this in college when I was in the Jami. When I was in the University of Medina, we had a whole madda. We had a whole class called Firaq, deviant sects in Islam. And the Quran was from the groups we studied. قالوا إنه لا يعبر عنه بالحروف. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not accepted or is not expressed by letters. وَقَدْ جَعَلُوا تَأْوِيلَهَا أَنَّ الْمُرَادَ بِهَا كُلَّهَا إِمَامُ الزَّمَانِ عِنْدَهُم. And they made that the so-called perverted meaning that they came in regards to this is that what is intended by Allah or the supreme being or whatever is the Imam of the time with them. And that He is called with them Allah. Who does that sound like? Nation of Islam. Ahsan. Ahsan. Now you hear the origin of a nation of Islam came from this right here, the Qaramita. Who do they call Allah in the nation of Islam? Farad Muhammad, or Farad Muhammad they call him. He's Allah. He's called Allah. Is it clear so far, everyone? He said, وَقَدْ جَعَلُوا تَأْوِيلَهَا أَنَّ الْمُرَادَ بِهَا كُلِّهَا إِمَامُ الزَّمَانِ عِنْدَهُمْ وَهُوَ عِنْدَهُمُ الْمُسَمَّى اللَّهِ وَالْمُرَادِ بِلَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. He said that He's the Imam of the time with them, that He is who's called Allah, and that what is intended, and that's what's intended by La ilaha illallah. Who does that sound like? Nation of Islam. And who's considered God? The people. With another group that branched off from them called the 5%ers, to the end of the nonsense. Is it clear, everyone? That's what's intended by God. Is what? Is the so-called man that came to them, who's God Himself, which is Farad Muhammad, to the end of the nonsense. Fine. So Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah was speaking about this. Where now, let's talk about the Batiniyah. Who are the Batiniyah? So the Qaramita is a deviant sect that broke off from the Batiniyah. Is it clear, everyone? The Qaramita broke off from the Batiniyah. Now we're going to talk about the Batiniyah because the people need to know who they are, so you can be on guard against them. سموا بذلك لأنهم يدعون أن لظواهر القرآن ولأحاديث بواطن تجري من الظواهر مجرى اللب من القشر. He said they were called that because they used to claim, now this is why they were called Batini. He said because they used to claim that the apparent meanings of the Quran and the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that they had inside hidden meanings to them. They had inside hidden meanings to them. It says, تَجْرِي مِنَ الظَّوَاهِرِ مَجْرَى اللُّبْ وَالْقِشْرِ. He said that the text, or the parent text that we study, now listen to this. It said that it's similar to a seed that's been put in something that has to be peeled off to get to the bottom of it. So that the majority of the people, they go upon based upon the outward. But there's a certain level that you have to peel to get to the what? To get to the loop, to get to the seed of it, to get to the so-called nitty-gritty of it.
They're kind of teaching that now that the other Quran is going to come, he's going to be destroyed. The other going to come and teach the same thing he's saying now.
Who, the Nation of Islam, Farrakhan?
Yeah, teach that now.
Initially, that's what they're from. They're from the Batiniyyah. The ideologies of the Nation of Islam initially not just come from the Qaramita, it goes back to the Batini sect. They were sect of the Batiniyyah. So what you're saying is correct. Ultimately, it goes beyond it. It goes back to the Batiniyyah. So listen to this. He said, وَأَنَّهَا بِصُورَتِهَا تُوهِمُ الْجُهَالِ صُوَرًا جَلِيًّا. He said that based upon what it precedes or what it shows to the people, that it gives the ignorant, or it gives the insinuation to the ignorant ones apparent images of what's outward. However, with those who truly have sound intellect and knowledge, it gives them like codes to point at there's another reality behind it. There's a hidden reality. Hunak rumuz, symbols and codes and isharat and innuendos that point towards a hidden reality. That only the intelligent ones can what? They can comprehend. They can peep. Or I can peep. Yeah, no, I can think that. No, I can see beyond that. Y'all, you ignorant ones in the masjid only know the parents, but we know there's something beyond this. Yes. He says, وَأَنَّ مَنْ تَقَاعَدَ عقله من الغوص عن الخفايا والأسرار والبواطن والأغوار وقنع بظواهرها كان تحت الأغلام. He said that the one now that has become so-called binded to the mind, for those who now go to the depths, the hosts, they go to the depths upon the secret or hidden affairs, and the other ones, those are the ones that's preferred. But the ones who have become content, or what's apparent from the text, is as if you're in a state of shackles. He says, كَانَ تَحْتَ الْأَغْلَالِ. He says, الَّتِي هِيَ تَكْلِيفَاتِ الشَّرْعِ. It's as if you're still under the shackles, which is considered the obligations of the Kitab and Sunnah. But basically the common folk, you're the ones that's still in the state of what? In prison, you're like shackled up and tied up. He said, due to the fact that you don't know the secrets of what only the special people can find. He says, وَمَنْ ارْتَقَى إِلَى عِلْمِ الْبَاطِنِ انحط عنه التكليف واستراح من أعبائه ومرادهم أن ينزعوا من العقائد موجب الظواهر ليقدروا بالتحكم بدعوى الباطن على أبطال الشرائع. He said, for verily, for the person now has reached a level where they have attained knowledge of the secrets of the Kitab and Sunnah, he said that the obligations fall off you and you become now relaxed from its burdens. You're relaxed now from its burdens and the hard work. He says, and what is intended, he says that you remove yourself from aqidah, which comes in accordance with what's the apparent meanings of the text. He says, in order for one to come to the conclusion that what you can judge by the so-called claim that you have now attained the inward apparent meanings, in order to what? Nullify the Kitab and Sunnah, which is considered the Shara'i'. Is it clear, everyone? So that's the Batiniyyah. That's the belief of the Batiniyyah. So let's go back to what Shaykh al-Islam says. So he said, now listen, and we'll stop here. He said, the third argument we can use. He said, what if we was to now come and someone said they would come and they would come with these perverted meanings and distortions in regards to the 5 prayers, in regards to the month of Ramadan. فَالتَّأْوِيلَ الَّذِي يُحِيلُهَا عَنْ هَذَا. He said, for verily all these notions is at the level of the deviant sect called the Qaramita and the Batiniyyah. He said, similar to what they did in regards to Hajj, in regards to prayer, in regards to the rest of the so-called affairs connected with prophethood. Who distorted those meanings? Look to what they did with the Nation of Islam. What did they do? So-and-so is a prophet. Muhammad is a prophet. Elijah Muhammad is a what? Prophet. Farrakhan is a prophet. Rather, he even mocked at prophethood in the video. He said, that's beneath me. He said, that's too much of small of a word for me. He said, I'm above that. Basically, said, I'm above that. That's small. That's small potatoes. That's nothing. What are you talking about? I'm way above that level.
Even more science. That's what I said, yeah.
Even all of those people have a portion of the Batinian. From the Moorish sciences, Moorish Americans, all of them. All of this is considered from these type of sects. The Masons, or the hidden knowledge. And then these brothers, but you see why I said, brothers and sisters, I'm teaching this book. Because a lot of people saying that's going above the people's heads, but you got to realize a lot of the devious sects that's out here, this is where it stems from. This is where it stems from. The Shaykh al-Islam is teaching this right now. In his book, not right now, literally. We talk about what we're learning from his book, excuse me. I'm talking some Baltic stuff out. Shaykh al-Islam is in a room teaching us this book.
They said when Right started that mess, right? He had all of them, Valley Grace, Bishop Johnson, all of them jumping together, and he taught him, he chose Elijah to be the one to be the messenger for him. But he taught all of them, Dress Trooper, for the Jehovah's Witness, all of them. He had them all together. He taught all of them jumping that mess, like you said.
Exactly.
He had stayed over and studied the condition of the black people and picked that mess out, so he could go back.
No, he extracted all this mess and they brought it here. He brought it here to America.
Yeah, he brought it to America. Yeah.
All this nonsense.
That's when all that stuff started. You see how Joe Witness go out and knock on the door with his suits on. It's the same time. They describe the black how to speak like that. Same thing. And that's the art. You broke it down. That's it.
Exactly. But let's continue because we want to take advantage of it. We only got a couple of minutes left. He said, وَالرَّابِعِ أن يبين أن العقل الصريح يوافق ما جاءت به النصوص. He said, what's the fourth thing that we have to use as an argument, which is correct, that to clarify that the untampered with intellect, the untampered, not the tampered with, or the corrupted, or the influence, rather the sound mind that has not been tampered with the outside corruption of this world, or the outside beliefs that have corrupted it, that the sound mind came to agree with what the revelation came with. وإن كان في النصوص بالتفصيل ما يعجز العقل عن درك تفصيله. He says, even though within the text of details, he says, of what the human mind is not capable of attaining is details. What is he speaking about? We're going to mention that in a minute, inshallah. He's talking about how the affair is a process of learning. It's not just some mysterious form of science where the knowledge creeps in your head or something to that effect. No. He's saying that the details of it takes the process of what? Learning. You have to read. And certain affairs of matters, not comprehending it is comprehending it. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the qadr, the secrets of the divine decree of Allah. A person would say, how do we understand it? Understand the divine decree of Allah? Submitting to it. Not trying to what? Find out about certain affairs. Or trying to pry into it. Or from those affairs is the ascension of Allah and His names and attributes. For example, we believe that Allah ascends. How does He ascend? Allah knows best. We don't know. So, how do we understand those texts? We don't understand the text in regards to how it's done. Or the reality is. And that's considered what? Comprehending it. Is it understood what I'm saying, everyone? Not fathoming it, to know the reality of it, of how it's done, is comprehending it. Is it clear? How does Allah do it? Nobody knows. That's considered idrak. That's considered comprehending it. That's considered comprehension. Is it clear, everyone? We'll stop here, inshallah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.
Hamzah,
No, تفضل.
you were saying about They feel lifted off the burden. That's all like the Sufiya too.
It is Sufiya. Sufis are Batiniya. They are. Rather you'll find from that the extremists of the Sufis are Batini. They all Batini. They're all Batini. Even the Ikhwaniyin. The Ikhwanis, the origin of them was by Hassan Banna, who's a Sufi. He was a Hassafi, which is a type of Batini. Then it branched, but you know that also Hassan Banna was a Mason too. He took it from Jamal ad-Din al-Ghani, where they say he was a Mason. Jamal ad-Din al-Ghani also taught Hassan Banna. All of them are nations. All of the nation, all of them are Masons. But if not all of them are Masons. But Jamal ad-Din al-Ghani, he taught, what broke off for him was Hassan Banna. But if you look to the ideologies of the Ikhwanis, it's exactly as the Masons. Because if you look at the Masons, what they do is they take from the Kitab, they take from the Bible, they take from all the books. Right? The same thing if you look to the ideologies of the Ikhwanis, it's the exact same thing. They try to merge the Muslims based upon false notions. It was considered affairs that go against the Kitab and Sunnah. But they reject all that and say, no. Based upon us trying to unite the Muslims, even though it's incorrect, let's merge it together. Even though this one believes this one believes this one, we don't care.
Right.
Let's bring them all together.
It's called outreach.
Exactly. It's the same thing. Same ideologies.
Call it degrees. They say there's no follow. Cheap religion just follow out degrees.
That's what the Masons, but the Ikhwanis, it's the same ideology. The Ikhwan al-Muslimin. That's why every Ikhwani Masjid, what do they do so-called? They try to unite the Muslims based upon falsehood, based upon different beliefs.
They got people think Muslim.
And they think they're Muslim. That one believes, even though he believes Allah is everywhere, that Allah is in the form of a human being, or that one believes that Allah is everywhere, or that one believes that Allah doesn't have any names and attributes. We're still Muslim, let's all unite. Regardless. Same thing. And what's the evilest of these affairs is that circle doesn't stop with the Muslims. That's why you find the majority of people that are upon the ideology of the Ikhwan Muslimin, they start calling to unification of the religions with the non-Muslims. He said the circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's why the majority of those masajid you'll find that they start saying statements like that. Well, the Christians is our brothers too.
Yeah, that's what they say now.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's why they start celebrating what? Christmas, Easter, all that stuff became legalized.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't stop there with the Muslims. The falsehood, it becomes worse and worse and worse. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So now everybody that, even for the non-Muslims, become in the circle of faith.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
15 feet up.
Yo, stop here, inshallah. I'll see you tomorrow.
Make sure you go, 'cause I'm gone. I gotta go eat. Close the doors and everything. Just lock up and